You got the first.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the study session. Brother Maria Ma, I'll give you the floor to get us started today.
Okay, well, let me open up with the motto and first stanza of O Africa, Awaken. The motto of the association is one God, one aim.
One God, one aim.
And one destiny.
One destiny.
And one destiny.
Oh, Africa, awaken, the morning is at hand. No more art thou forsaken, O bounteous motherland. From far thy sons and daughters are hastening back to thee. Their cries ring over the water that Africa shall be free. Old Africa, old Africa, old Africa, awaken to God, lift up thine eyes. That's the first stanza. And with that, I yield the floor back to Lady President, Vice President Marshall.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. So perhaps in the future studies, you can give us the words so we'll all read along, if not sing along, when we do that song again. That was really nice.
Sounds good.
Okay. So would anyone like to add anything tonight from our previous studies? Question, comments, concern before we get started?
Well, I had a question. You sent two sheets. Which sheet are we going to be working from first? The questionnaire.
So we're going to start with the multiple choice questions.
Okay.
To kind of loosen everyone up and kind of refresh the memories a little bit. And then depending on how far we get with those, then there's another series of questions. It just says questions and answers based on chapter 2. And that one is it doesn't have the page number and such, but it's all from chapter 2. But I figured the multiple choice one we may breeze through it a lot quicker. So it just depends on how that flows. We may or may not get to the second set. So anyone else? Okay, so with no further ado, we're going to go into chapter 2, because you know the time just goes by so quickly when we're having so much fun over here. So Brother John, did you have those questions? It says multiple choice questions, chapter 2.
Yes, I have.
Did I send those over?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. And multiple choice, process of elimination. So the first question is, what was the fundamental principle behind Garvey's philosophy? In fact, let me back up a little bit. We had actually touched on the first, I think it may have been 8 or so questions from chapter 8 after we wrapped from chapter 2 after we wrapped up chapter 1 last week. So this is kind of a review a little bit. So the first question says, what was the fundamental principle behind Garvey's philosophy? And the answers are A, political integration, B, racial uplift and self-reliance, C, religious unity, and D, agricultural reform. And anyone can feel free to answer that question if you know the answer. Or else we'll call it.
I think B, racial uplift.
Racial uplift and self-reliance. I do believe that's the answer. Let's see, Father John. Yes, racial uplift and self-reliance was the fundamental principle behind Garvey's philosophy. Question number 2. Some of these answers too can have more than one answer, but just for the sake of kind of flowing through it, we'll just go with the answer. It doesn't mean that there's no other answer to this question. So we just flow with this main answer and know that in some instances, there could be more than one right answer to the question. So question number 2 says, which term did Garvey use to describe the collective identity of Black people? Was it A, African diaspora? Was it B, Black nation? Was it C, Negro race? Or 4, Pan-African community?
I would lean towards Negro race.
Say that again, Brother John.
I would think Negro race. See.
Okay, and I believe you are correct. Let's see that answer. Or I guess I should have asked if anyone had a different answer, but that is correct. All right. Okay.
Can I make a brief comment too, by the way?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out because I have to defend Mr. Garvey oftentimes, and arguments, debates, folks bring up. So, just as a pointer, I make mention that even though we are Universal Negro Improvement Association, we also African Communities League and Black, Cross, Black Star, Negro Factories, Negro Improvement, African Communities League, African Legion. So Mr. Garvey kind of interchangeably used a lot of terms. Typically, he would use Negro when he, refers to racial dimension, so that people not mistaken. It's like even today, some people who are white, born in South Africa, consider themselves African, but they definitely don't consider themselves Negro. So Negro was just one of the 3 broods of mankind that was distinguished back in those days as Negroid, Caucasoid, Mongoloid. So Negro was a fitting, description, but it wasn't a mandated term for anybody to use, or else like some other organizations kind of have a preferential nationality or term that they use. So Mr. Garvey was open with that. I just want to clarify that.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And sometimes I wonder about that myself because sometimes like I was trying to think of the name for a company to involve so there would be clear distinction that the business was for people of African descent. But then all these other words kept coming up. But at the end of the day, even though people might think the word Negro is old and archaic, at the end of the day, because of all the things that have come about today to describe the races, other people of color, and the list goes on. Sometimes it gets muddy a little bit. And so even to the point where programs are designed supposedly target for the Black community, it end up getting watered down to people of color and all this stuff. And so those programs don't even get to us. But at the end of the day, even in today's society, it seems like it's the most fitting term to use to distinguish and differentiate that we're talking about people of African descent. I don't know if anyone else felt that, but I kind of feel it's still fitting today. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's definitely a fitting, effectively used word. And yeah, I like I say different things to different folks at different times, but yeah, I use that more than the people who think it's socially less acceptable. So I just keep it real with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, because like I said, there's just so many new terms to describe people and so many terms that were designed to specifically take away stuff that was designed for Black people. It gets a little crazy. Okay, so if no other comments on that question, we can look at question number 3, which says, what did Garvey consider essential for Black liberation? Was it A? But I think somebody may have a TV on in the background. I'm gonna mute a little bit. Yeah, I hear like a TV. Am I the only one hearing it? Somebody could mute a little. Okay. So what did Garvey consider essential for Black liberation? Was it A, political alliances? Was it B, economic independence? Or C, religious education? D, military strength? Anyone want to take a shot?
I would go
I think it's economic independence.
I think so too. Anyone else has another possibility from these options? Okay, I think that's the most fitting one as well. Let's see what the answer for that one is. And yes, Brother Art, that is correct. Economic independence is what Garvey considered essential for Black people, and that is still true up to today. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns on that one? Anyone has anything to add? If not, we'll go ahead and take a look at question number 4, which says, how did Garvey view the role of religion in his movement? Did he view religion as a divisive force, as a unifying and moral force, as irrelevant, or as a secondary concern? How did Garvey view the role of religion in this movement?
I would lean towards B, unifying moral.
B, a unifying and moral force.
Okay. Anyone else want to add anything else, or anyone else who think it should be another answer? Okay, we'll take a look at the answer for number 4. And that is correct, Brother Art. Garvey viewed the role of religion in his movement as a unifying and moral force. And he wasn't really hung up on this religion or that religion. But he felt it was a way that a kind of unifying scenario. A thing that could be used to unify people as well. Okay. Any questions, comments on that one? Okay, if not, we'll take a look at question number 5. Says, what was Garvey's stance?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was gonna make a comment. I was kind of
Go ahead,
in the
please.
middle of something, but yeah, I just wanted to point out it wasn't so much religion, because in African fundamentalism, the official creed of the UNIA, he points out the trappings and danger of religious nationalism. So he mentions that no political machinations or religious scruples should divide us, and sometimes religion can be used. As Dr. Clark and Elder Garvey himself once said, about taking on the white Jesus. He was saying if your Lord and Savior resembles your captor and enslaver, you become the greatest agent in your own demise. So religion has been used wrongfully sometimes, but Mr. Garvey understood that everybody has a religion and that your personal faith is your personal business. But he found a way to introduce a gospel of his own that is compatible with the major religious systems of the day, and that he understood that Africa's redemption was part of a divine injunction. So it was more spirituality than a religious thing. Brother Shaka always points out that, people say race first. We technically, according to the African fundamentalism, your order of priority should be your God first, not religion, but your God, then your family, then your race, and then your country or nation. So your religion that's a tricky answer. If it's sometimes we got to be particular with how we answer that one, because I don't want people thinking that we pushing religious unity, so to speak. It's more of a philosophical unity and racial patriotism, but it's not so much religious. Even though Mr. Garvey told us to leave them churches alone, stop trying to compete with the churches, that respect them and learn to get along with them. And that's why today we probably don't have as many members as we did back in that day, because we could recruit a pastor and his whole church would join, but the sentiment today among some of the more race conscious members of our community has been a little more hostile toward the church because of its shady past. So we haven't embraced the opportunity to speak to the church with the gospel of Garveyism. So anyway, I think it's a simple answer, but it's also kind of complicated answer too. So I just wanted to
Right, because the subject of religion and politics can get crazy and but I think at the end of the day, just like what we was talking about, within the race, we have many shades, and that should become a divisive force. And the same thing I think he feels like within the so-called religions, even though, we know that it's within it, there's propaganda. I think his whole thing is not for it to become a divisive force, because at the end of the day, it was all about unifying the race on a global, international scale.
Right. In fact,
Anyone like to add anything else to it? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that just to point out a term that Randall Burkett, he's a white author, but he did a couple books on Garveyism. One of them was titled "The Institutionalization of a Civil Religion." So in that sense, because of some of the religious connotation in the movement, he used that term kind of creatively. So I would tend to, maybe not exactly, but for lack of better words, I would tend to agree with his explanation as a civil religion and not one that's really politicized and one that we forcing anybody to adopt. Of course, we always had Hebrews and Muslims and Christians and traditional spiritual systems and the faith from Haiti and the Candomblé and all that kind of stuff, and still been one unified association. So yeah, anyway, we do embrace all.
Absolutely. Okay. So question 5 says, what was Garvey's stance on integration with the white society. So the options, the answers, the possible answers are he supported it. That's A. B says he was indifferent. C says he opposed it, advocating for separate development. D says he sought limited integration. And would like to take a shot at the answer. Did he support it? Was he indifferent to it? Did he oppose it, advocating for separate development? Or did he felt that limited integration is what we needed? Anyone would like to
I would
take
think I'd take a shot. I would think it'd be C, based upon some of the philosophies and principles I've heard of.
Okay, so
other-
he opposed it, advocating for separate developments. Okay, anyone else agree with that, or felt another answer was more fitting? Okay. So I guess we'll go with C. Let's see what the answer is. Okay. So Garvey's stance on integration was with white society was he opposed it. He advocated for separate developments. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Race pride over race suicide.
That is correct. That is correct. Yes, indeed. Okay. Question 6 asks, what concept did Garvey promote to inspire pride among Black people? Was it economic dominance? Was it political unity? Was it Black self-pride and cultural heritage? Or was it religious conformity?
Mm.
Anyone want to take a guess?
I'll take it. Let's see, wait a minute. One more. Educational guess on that one. I think it would be actually, I mean, it's real close, but I think economic dominance was a forte of the movement, and actually does it coincide with separation of the people as well. So yeah, I would say A.
Okay.
Just an
Anyone
education.
else want to take a shot at another answer, or agrees with that the answer is economic dominance A?
I like self-pride and cultural heritage.
Okay, if no one has an answer, let's see what the answer is. Okay, so the answer is Black self-pride and cultural heritage. So Garvey did talk a lot about emancipating the race economically, and almost as if he were saying that without economic emancipation, you know, we basically we're going nowhere. We will not be respected. So we got a lot into that, but he never really preached economic dominance. I think that if Garvey was still around, and if Garvey was allowed to continue on the path, I feel in my heart that no doubt that we would be we would have some level of economic dominance, not just in the United States, but globally. But that kind of got squished, and we never really gained economic dominance. But unfortunately, we're kind of still in a similar spot to where we were when Garvey was around, because one of the things that his travel showed him, as we learned in chapter 1, is that the suppression and the, you know, bottom, and the black people operating on the bottom rung was prevalent. So even though he wanted economic was a big piece, he wasn't really preaching economic dominance per se, but no doubt that would have been the case if the whole movement didn't get stifled and we continued on the same path. But that's just my opinion. Anyone wish to add anything else to that?
I like to add, I can see that, because in reality, I can see that being the correct answer. Because if you don't love yourself, very hard to love other people and love situations that will put you or force in a community environment or worldwide environment. So, because if you look at it at that time, and it's prevalent, they were teaching and changing different things from the way the origin was, so that they could love themselves and others would take pride in them as well. And then the suppression part kept us from loving ourselves. So I could see that a crucial uh, point, and being prevalent
Absolutely.
in the Garvey movement. Again, like, I'm not lettered as I should be, as or could be, because of the time and but I know a little, and I know enough to have that love and appreciation of what Garvey stood for, and what all his uh, I would say disciples and uh, literate and educated people who accepted his philosophy. I could see that, and trust me, I know that run deep. I know that run deep. What he did, it ran deep, and the reason why I said that, because of my grandfather. It ran deep, So
Um,
and so he taught that culture thing. He taught the roads of what you could do, and what you. I mean, it was your fork in the road, but he
yes,
did share. He did share, and I always, and he was a shaking and baker too. So I appreciate that. I just so I think that's a tight question for being correct, because if you don't love yourself and you don't love your people, you don't love your prosperity where it's supposed to be, and your greatness, then it's prevalent that you won't grow as strong as you like to grow. Yeah, so I can see that.
absolutely,
I can see
absolutely. And that also goes hand in hand with loving your race and doing what's in the best interest of your
Yes,
race.
yes,
So
yes,
absolutely, yeah,
One of the
absolutely.
answers had to do with politics as well, I think.
The one with politics,
Yeah, I know you.
you mean political unity?
Yeah. Yeah, that one kind of could fit as well. I mean, Mr. Garvey used to always say that a race without power and authority is a race without respect. And so if you want to have pride, you definitely have to respect yourself enough to organize and use your collective strength, to organize political sovereignty and economic, industrialization and determination. But there was a quote of his I used to use all the time that he was talking about America and the conditions over here. He was saying that the Negro is a cultural tramp in the political gutter of the world. And when he evolves his own state built upon a solid industrial foundation, he will be standing upon his own feet instead of walking around dressed up in a borrowed civilization. And, so in some ways, the politics and the economics go toward us being a respected people across the globe and us having some pride in our own ability to do for self, and rather than begging and being dependent upon others to do for us, those same things. So yeah, I would agree too that all those kind of in some way could fit, toward that instilling of pride.
Yes. I would say that that fit to some extent as well, because obviously we're trying to establish our own government with our own flag, and kind of lean towards our own government, not in the sense of how it is run here, but I can see how that fit as well. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we can take a look at question number 7. It says, which African emperor did Garvey admire and see as a symbol of Black sovereignty? Was it Emperor Mansa Musa? Was it Emperor Menelik II? Was it Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia? Or was it Emperor Shaka Zulu? Which emperor did Garvey admire and see as a symbol of Black sovereignty? Anyone want to take a guess?
I think it was Haile Selassie.
Yeah, I would argue Haile Selassie, but Mr. Garvey was also critical of Haile Selassie towards the end of.
The audio is a little low,
No, I would agree.
I know Brother Art said Haile Selassie.
Yeah, I would agree.
And Brother John.
Go ahead. I would agree with Brother Art. But I'm thinking of some of the statements Mr. Garvey had of Haile Selassie in the late 30s, which seemed to be critical of Haile Selassie.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Agree, disagree? Any comments? Well, let's see the answer to number 7. And the answer is Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia.
Yeah, I did want to make a comment too on that. Because
Okay.
interestingly enough, Emperor Menelik II and Mr. Garvey both share the same birthday as well. But
Oh, wow.
but Mr. Garvey actually had a great relation. Well, I wouldn't say great, but he had a very respectful, cordial relationship with Emperor Selassie since at least 1922, when the emperor, by way of his Persian consul, sent a letter to the UNIA convention in 22 and offered to avail his land to anybody who wants to repatriate and establish themselves in Ethiopia. So there was, and then of course when we went to the League of Nations, we went through the Persian consul there, thanks to Ethiopia, to deliver our petition to the League of Nations once we were seated. So there was, even some of the members of the UNIA were encouraged to support financially, and some have actually traveled to Ethiopia during the Ethiopian-Italian War, or Italian-Ethiopian War, to support the people of Ethiopia. But yeah, at one point around 1937 is when the emperor had fled Ethiopia and came to Europe, and Mr. Garvey was pretty critical of some of his decisions. So he had some choice words for him. But but yeah, he did. For 15 years of that relationship, they were, cool. But the last 3 years of his life, maybe not so much. But yeah, but I would think that Mr. Garvey's knowledge of African history, he probably had respect for all those emperors, even though he may not have mentioned them personally.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, unfortunately, Emperor Selassie had to flee to England. I'm not sure how long he stayed there, but yes, it was some dangerous times. But they never got conquered. So that says that was, well, that's a whole other topic. But anyway, okay. Thank you guys for that. Let's see. Question A says, how did Garvey propose to address economic exploitation? Did he propose to reform trade union, like to form trade unions? Was it by establishing Black-owned businesses and institutions? Did he wanted us to seek government aid, or did he want us to organize and protest? Anyone want to take a shot at that answer?
I would go with the self-reliance path of.
How did Garvey propose to address economic exploitation?
I would argue self-reliant path of establishing Black-owned businesses and institutions.
Brother John, for some reason, I'm not hearing you too much. Can everyone hear Brother John?
Probably not. Test. Is it better?
It's a little low for some reason. Is everyone hearing, or is it just me?
No, I can barely hear him too.
All right, I'll get my mic.
I'm not sure. Something happened to the audio because I was hearing him better in the beginning.
Sister Diane, is this better?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Much better. Perfect.
I got my mic.
Perfect.
I was saying, I would argue path of self-reliance to establish Black-owned businesses and institutions of our own.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any other answers or agree with that one?
I agree.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So let's see the answer to question 8. And that is correct. Garvey proposed to address economic exploitation by establishing Black-owned businesses and institutions. Any other comments to add to that? Questions? All right. So question number 9 asks, what was the educational goal of Garvey's movement? Was it to promote knowledge of Black history and achievement? Was it to focus on European history? Was it to teach agricultural skill? Or was it to emphasize religious studies? Anyone want to try that one?
Well, I would definitely say I think it was A, was the knowledge of history. I forgot exactly how it was worded. But certainly it's a
Okay.
religious, or the other 3. But I repeat that A again.
So what was the educational goal of Garvey's movement? Was it to promote knowledge of Black history and achievement, to focus on European history, to teach agricultural skills, to emphasize religious studies.
Yeah, I would say A. But he did also admonish us to study the history of the world. But yeah, the primary objective was yeah, definitely letting us know we were once great and we can be great again. Um, by knowing what we're capable of. So yeah, A would be much more correct. But yeah, he told us
Absolutely.
to be broad. Hmm.
Okay. Anyone want to add anything to that? Okay. So let's see. The answer to question 9 is to promote knowledge of Black history and achievement. So as we all know, Garvey grew up with an extensive library, and he was a big reader. And he says to read every day, read incessantly. And so definitely the knowledge of Black history and achievement would have been one thing that he would have wanted us to focus on, know about, and have pride in our history. Okay, so if no one has anything else to add, we can go on to number 10, which says, what was Garvey's view on the importance of Africa to the diaspora? Did he view it as a place to avoid? Did he view it as the spiritual and ancestral homeland? Did he view it as a business opportunity or as a source of labor? Anyone want to take a shot at that? What was Garvey's view on the importance of Africa to Africans in the diaspora? As a place to avoid, as a spiritual and ancestral homeland, as a business opportunity, as a source of labor? Anyone want to take a shot?
I think B.
Yeah, the ancestral.
Yeah, that
Okay,
spiritual ancestral homeland.
as a spiritual and ancestral homeland. Okay. Anyone else want to give a shot, another shot? Okay. All right. So let's see the answer to that. So the answer is Garvey's view on the importance of Africa to the diaspora is that Africa is our spiritual and ancestral homeland. And I would add, though, that all the answers at some point came up because the propaganda was that Africa is a place to avoid. So in the past, everyone but us would go there. And then now it's being looked at, I think, more as a spiritual and ancestral homeland. But I mean, there was always some level of that, but to me, it seems like there's more of an awakening to that. And I think one of the things that now we overlook a lot is that, I mean, the entire continent, if once we all get our head right about the African continent, it's a tremendous business opportunity for the race. It's just a matter of our mindset and how we look at it. You know, even if we don't necessarily want to take off because the United States is what we know as home, there could be major business that's done between, Africa and the diasporans. And I think in the future, we'll see more of that. And I don't think it's any different than people from India or people from China, or any other country having a home base that they call home, that they exchange money with, and they do all kind of, correspondence with people back home, so to speak. And I think once once we start looking at Africa as back home, whether we're from America, whether we're from Jamaica or wherever, when I was a kid, I used to hear on the radio, they would sing a song. It says, no matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man, you're African. So if we think in that terms and we form alliances with Africans on the continent, I mean, I think overall economically, the situation will improve for Black people. I think there'll be more unity, and I think that's the direction we should be heading in anyway. Well, that's my 2 cents. Would anyone like to add anything to that? Question, comments, concerns?
I what I had to step away for a minute. What we want, I caught what you were saying. What was that? What was
The question was that Garvey's view on the importance of Africa, to the diaspora, is he viewed it as a spiritual and ancestral homeland. And then I was just adding that some of those answers can apply as well, because Africa is viewed as a place of business opportunity, not just with Africans in the diaspora, but Africans in the Caribbean, and I think more of that is happening now.
well, yeah, that's really so. I want to emphasize the new industry. I know all of us can recall the industrial age, or maybe not recall the industrial age. That was when they broke out with the way from the horse and wagons and railroads, and automobiles started hitting the streets and things of that nature. Automobiles were already,
Industrial Revolution.
yeah, industrial
Mhm.
revolution, and then after that we had the revolution of product distribution on a mass scale. That's what created the big box stores that we all know, J.C. Penney, Sears, and places like that, Walmart, and the likes. Um, so, and goods and services was being transferred all the time since the beginning of time. But today we're speaking of doing things and connecting with our people to build that economical wealth and well-being so that we can take advantage of what's available during different course of times.
Mhm.
Pointing out, like in the industry, the real estate industry, people can, if the cash flow is there, they can when it's that downside, they can go to work and capturing a lot of land. Uh,
Mhm.
and then also the new industry was the mass distribution. Don't miss out on that. And
Mhm.
that's that's Amazon, that's eBay, that's anything that's been mass produced distributing products without a building, without a sales force. Okay,
Yes.
so you have
And
to look at that as well. And I don't
and
want to
even
go
if,
off on that, but we have to
yeah.
look at that the new industry
Yeah.
and how it's being marketed and how we can blend
Mhm.
to extend or ascend. You know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that's something to consider. Take note of that for real.
Yes, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, um, we have to build the infrastructure there, so to promote more business amongst the different countries or the different self-imposed countries or, countries that were imposed on us. So we have to fix that, the infrastructure. But then we can't sit back and wait for others to do that because a lot of very smart people throughout the diaspora, engineers that can go and talk about infrastructure. And I've heard through the grapevine that sometimes when the governments are looking to do things relating to infrastructure and development, the diaspora is overlooked because we're not present. We're not bidding on these things. I was listening to this lady. She's very outspoken, Dr. Arikana Chiambori Paul, and she actually has an organization to bring folks together. But engineers, it's gonna take a while, but at least
But
we got
here's
to
a
start
yeah,
thinking that way and looking in that direction.
not to cut you off real short. At any point, some some yes, in any given situation in the new industry, if it appears to be a jump, we don't have to create the wheel. The only
Right.
thing all we have to do is get in and produce and resource that money properly, because the cash flow will build, and we can get into that when we have our
The
entrepreneur and
important thing is to start. The
start.
important thing is to start. Yes, absolutely. I agree.
We can do that. We can do that right now. You can always hear me say we can do that right now. You know,
Right,
because one thing I
right.
know for sure, when it comes to a movement or come to something getting done, they really getting done, or they're gonna let us in that door. Okay,
Mhm.
they're gonna let us in that door. You can look at history, even in the worst of time of us, there was always one who rise above that.
Mm,
So yeah, but that's all
okay.
I like to share. That was a quick share. That's all. Peace.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, brother. Okay, so let's look at question number 11. And question number 11 asks, what was a key aspect of Garvey's economic plan? Was it nationalizing industries? Was it the establishment of a merchant marine? Was it government subsidies? Or was it charity and welfare programs? So again, what was the key aspect of Garvey's economic plan?
Uh, I would think, again, uh, not reading all the chapters. Um, in educated guess, I would say A, naturalize in industry, because during that time, that revolution was just coming about, and I've read some history. I think it's A, and because I read some history where brothers and sisters was doing that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would like to say A.
Okay. Anyone else want to agree with A or would like to take a stab at it?
I would agree, A.
A. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and see the answer.
Hmm.
So the answer is the establishment of a merchant marine.
Okay.
So I
Well, that
guess
was
that
that.
would relate to the Black Star
Yeah,
Line.
Black Star. Correct though. Yeah. Now I forgot it when we had that discussion last week. Yeah, most definitely.
Yes. So that would be the establishment of a merchant marine. And of course, you know, Mr. Garvey was just so there wasn't anything he left out, so it went across just a very wide spectrum of things anyway. But definitely merchant marine.
Mm.
Okay,
Most definitely.
so anyone who would like to add anything else to that?
Just that I know that we were moving mass products and goods and services across that water. So he
There you
definitely was
go.
on. He was definitely on key.
Absolutely. And
He
he
was
had the
definitely on
right
key.
idea. Because that's another thing that we would have been doing, just trading back and forth between the motherland and, different islands in the Caribbean. And, so absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, we were just, but anyway, um, no better time than the present, right?
That's
So
right.
yes. So question number 12 says, which publication did Garvey use to communicate his ideas? Which publication did Garvey use to communicate his ideas? Was it the publication called The Crisis? Was it the one called The Freedom Journal? Was it the Negro World or the Defender?
Oh man, we talked about this.
Yeah, I'm going to answer that one. The Negro world.
You said the Negro World? Okay. Anyone think it's another one?
I'm thinking. Uh, I'm thinking B. Freedom
The
Journal.
Freedom Journal?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone want to add anything else? Okay, so let's see the answer. Let's see the answer to 12. And the answer would be the Negro World.
Okay.
The Negro World.
Yeah, and just to point out that the identity crisis, I mean, the crisis, um, was the publication of Dr. W.E.B. of Confusion, Du Bois. So he actually, along with the Chicago Defender and some other newspapers, Freedom Journal was much before that with Frederick Douglass, but there was a lot of newspapers during that time had sold out to the government during World War One and agreed to use their media forms of media as tools for espionage against the black community to kind of push us to support the war efforts and go volunteer our services to fight in World War One. To give
Wow.
Europeans rights that we ourselves don't even enjoy here. So they actually agreed to that, and so interesting thing is that Mr. Du Bois was going to be a captain in U.S. military intelligence if he were to prove his loyalty to the Spingarns, who were in charge of military intelligence at that time for the United States government. Joe Spingarn was the head of the military intelligence Negro subversion department. So anyway, Du Bois had to
Wow.
prove his loyalty by putting a newspaper out, and he did it on July 2nd, 1918, which was a significant day that he put out his newspaper. It was an article called what was it called? The famous name. But anyway, it was a famous article. Oh, Closed Ranks. So anyway, he put out the Closed Ranks article where he was telling us to forget our grievances with the United States and go fight, for America and die for America. To fight these nasty Germans. So the time he did it was the 1 year anniversary of the East St. Louis riots. And this is when black children were thrown into burning buildings in the presence of National Guardsmen who were laughing at the time. This was during the time where we were massacred, and slaughtered. And on the 1 year anniversary, he wanted to celebrate it by betraying us even further. And this was also like less than a year after the black soldiers got lynched in uniform in Texas for defending
Wow.
themselves from white racists. And then he wanted to tell us to go die in the military for Uncle Sam and be a bunch of Uncle Toms. And after he wrote that, Hubert Harrison lit him up in the newspapers for being the traitor to his race, and he had to give up his office of captaincy in the U.S. military once everybody found out what he was doing. He was trying to keep it undercover. But anyway, but also on that same day, July 2nd, 1918, was the day Mr. Garvey responded to the 1 year anniversary of the East St. Louis riots by founding the UNIA or incorporating the UNIA. So July 2nd, 1918 is the day he chose to form that. So anyway, that's just a little history
Wow.
newspaper.
Well, thank you for that little known history. That's some crazy stuff, what betrayal. What betrayal. I mean, it's just unthinkable stuff that they've undergone. Can you imagine lynching a man in a uniform to serve his country? That's just unthinkable.
Yeah,
But anyway, we could go.
that's that go deep, deep. That's just uh, based upon all that stuff we talked about in the last couple of chapters. Why they would do that. So, but yeah, it's a learning experience that lets you know that nothing is really new under the sun. And when it came about, the turns for another community to be treated like that, and that was a wake up call. So yeah, the creator works through the mind of man. But that's a good point to put out. Like I say, I just gotta just stay focused on that main idea of rising up and getting that stuff done, because we can battle with each other all the time. And of course we know through history that's what's been happening from the Bose, Garvey, and the rest of those, and Booker T. Washington, and all that was that's the game. That's the life
Right,
that the beast
right.
does. You know what I mean? So, like I
And
said before, we have to penetrate that, get
yeah,
into the market now, and again, like
yeah,
I said before, be able to capture and benefit, where we want to be at in the equation. And that's something we have to really collectively come together ASAP and exercise, because a turn is getting ready to hit again. And I would love for all of us to be able to snatch up them uh, 50 of those those $1 million and 2 million,
mhm,
$3 million of property and land, and from in any part of the globe. Don't worry, any part of the
yeah,
states. Don't worry
yeah,
about none of that other stuff when they talk about prime, because Creator will bless you with whatever you need.
yes,
So we
absolutely.
be able to snatch
But
that. Yeah, yeah,
yes. So the key is whether it's local or when we're talking about the African continent, I guess the key question would be how do we penetrate the market? How do we unite and put, you know, differences aside and act in the best interest of the race? And then how do we deal with those who sell out the race for 30 pieces of silver, so to speak?
right.
So those
Well,
are all
yeah,
challenges.
yeah. Well, like I said again, that's gonna be the sellout, the vision, to throw a wrench in the party, those who crash the party, or crash the move, or whatever the case may be. This is why you have to uh, glue to being connected with the creator, as well as what's happening in the world and in the communities, in the society. And again, as I said before, you may not think it is, or you may not see it, but there is right in our midst a new industry. We all recall someone saying, I am not bringing no computer in my house. I am not going to get no cell phone. Okay. And look at
Hmm.
today. You follow me? So
Yes,
we have to connect uh, uh, with vision, creativity, and when one of the troops see a move, we need to get on that move quickly, because it's going
yes,
to open up and we'll be
yes.
able to get stuff. You know what I mean? These buildings and new developments and new communities ain't coming up for
Mhm.
nothing. Okay,
Yes.
so you have to be able to move on those things and position your things. And the way you do it, my philosophy, my vision is we had to sit down at this table, kneecap to kneecap, eyeball to eyeball, and start doing a strategy. And
Yeah.
immediately when we get up from the table, that strategy is executed.
Mhm.
That's how I
Yeah.
see it'll be.
Mhm.
And I don't care about the people who what they do. They can take, as one brother said, very influential in the movement.
Mhm.
Part of Garvey's offsprings. He said
Mhm.
they can take their ragged ass wherever they want because the
Mhm.
creator got our back. And I tell you right now, we ain't gonna lose. And we
Mhm.
ain't gonna lose. I
Yeah.
see. We ain't gonna
I
lose.
I
Yeah.
agree, and it's like you said, there was a point where people were like, "I'm not bringing that computer in my home," and I was like with the 5G phones. I'm like, I'm not messing with those 5G phones, but we have to think that a black woman invented the cellular phone. We have to think that the mineral that's in the phone for the battery comes out of the Congo, the coltan. Without that, none of us would have a phone. So ultimately, what we have to do is think of ways to make these technologies safer. And why can't we be the ones to do that? We have a lot of smart people amongst us, a lot of
Mhm.
engineers and all these kinds of people. So
But
yeah,
this,
we could be, because
yeah,
we have these draconians that just cares about money, money, money at all costs, cost of the human. And so we can bring these technology for our benefit, but not
right.
necessarily have it strangle us, or take over
It wouldn't, because
humanity.
if you have the cash flow, you have the cash flow to do different things. You have the cash flow to invest in different things. You have the cash flow to move freely. You know, uh, all those things will come to be. They will come to be over the course of time. You know what I mean? And as I said before, we get that thriving community going now, with little small activity inside there. It's like working behind enemy walls. You gotta you gotta start somewhere, and you gotta
Yes,
start. You gotta go quickly. You know, it's
yeah,
nothing by chance. It's by design. So we got that behind us. So we need to just sit down and do that.
yeah.
I would have to see that and do that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We know that 100% Garvey was a man of action. He didn't just talk about stuff. I mean, he just made it happen. So we have to embrace that
Yeah,
mindset,
yeah,
embody that
yeah, yes,
mindset.
yeah, yes,
And
yes,
yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
most definitely.
So, okay. So anyway, if no one else has anything to add, we'll move on to question number 13. And that one says, what role did women play in Garvey's movement? Did they Were they discouraged from participating?
No,
Were
I don't.
they were
I
they
don't.
active leaders and organizers? Did they have serve no purpose, or were they like financial supporters only?
I, I believe that in every aspect. Now, the male may have been in front, but I believe in every aspect of that movement that the woman was definitely a role in the movement, for sure, for sure.
Okay,
And
okay.
all on all levels. Because a lot of you got to remember, some places we couldn't get. You see what I'm saying? Some places we couldn't go,
Mm-hmm.
but you could walk
Okay,
right through there with not a problem and
okay.
talk.
So you
You see
feel
what I'm
there were
saying? Yeah. So
yeah.
I
So you
I, I
feel
think
that
I think
there
they were.
were leaders and organizers. Would that be your answer?
Yes.
Leaders and organizers.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have another answer? Or is everyone in agree with that answer?
Yes, I agree.
Okay,
I
awesome.
agree.
Okay, so let's see the answer to question number 13. And yes, the role that women play in Garvey's movement was that they were active leaders and organizers. Very active. Okay. And then question 14 says, what was Garvey's perspective on Black unity? Did he feel that it was not essential? Did he feel it was crucial for achieving liberation and self-determination? Did he feel it was secondary to the economic goals, or that it was only necessary locally? What was Garvey's perspective on Black unity? Anyone want to take a shot at that one?
I would say B, crucial.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think I second that to B as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I think we're all in agreement with that one. So let's see the answer to 14.
Excuse me.
Mhm. And so the answer is yes. Garvey's perspective on Black unity was that it was absolutely crucial for achieving liberation and self-determination. Yes. And let's advance to question 15. And question 15 says, what did Garvey believe was necessary for the progress of the Black race? Did he believe that economic isolation, education and self-improvement, political compromise, or military intervention was necessary for the progress of the Black race?
Oh, I couldn't. I can't. Can you move that cursor up? Yeah, that's a
Oh, you
little
want to
bit
see
to
the
cover
question?
that.
Yeah, the question says, what
Yeah.
did Garvey believe was necessary for the progress of the Black race? Did he felt that we needed economic isolation? Did he feel that we needed education and self-improvement? Did he feel that it was going to be political compromise, or did we need military intervention for the progress of the Black race?
Yeah. Yeah. I see A as a choice, but I don't see the rest
Okay.
of them. I need to see that.
Okay, so A was economic isolation, and then B is education and self-improvement. C is political compromise, and then D is military intervention. This is as far as what Garvey believed was necessary for the progress of the Black race.
Well, I
Well,
would choose education and self-improvement.
yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
I second that. I agree with that as well.
Okay, all right.
It's close to A,
Okay,
but still, I agree with that would be.
yes, yes, okay. So let's see, the answer to question 15 says that that education and self-improvement is what Garvey believed was necessary for the progress of the Black race. Okay. And then question, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to say, and more importantly, that was ideal, but more importantly, he and them and they took what they had and made that what it is, made what they had materialize.
Yes.
Draw enough attention and draw enough
Yes.
opposition to
Mm-hmm.
want to pull it back.
Mm-hmm.
So they took what they had, and that was
Mm-hmm.
strong. Because as they,
Right.
as it turned, it's just like anything else. If somebody see you doing something and you're doing something for yourself and you're doing something better,
Mm-hmm.
people they're gonna show you something. They're gonna teach you something. You see what I'm saying? And
Right.
that's because it's not that far away from Emancipation Proclamation. So you have people still, some people not getting in the way of that indication of education and self improvement, but you
Yeah.
still had that growing. So yeah,
Yeah.
they took what they got, and that's what we need to do
Yeah.
today. Take what we got,
Yes.
and just roll
And
with it.
it shows you that you don't need a whole lot if you have
No,
unity. Because
yeah.
look at how far they got with the little
Oh
that
man,
they have in
big
terms
time.
of laws in support of laws, period, for Black people, laws for civil rights laws and stuff like that.
And
So
just how far
without
they
even
got with
that,
the star line. I mean that whole process to
exactly,
get that far. You know what I mean?
exactly.
And right now I'm telling you, we see the impact of that. We see the impact
Mm-hmm.
of that. And all these
We
other
just
things that
we
happen
just
in
have
our
to get back there and put,
yeah,
yeah,
most definitely.
we got to get back there and put some action behind it. So
Yes,
yes,
indeed.
so I agree. We can do a lot. We can do a lot with a little. It's
Yes,
just
indeed.
we have to unite as a force and
So we gotta get that round
create
that round
economic.
table. We gotta get that round table. Get that round table.
Yes. Okay. All right. So question 16 said, how did Garvey address the issue of Black inferiority complex? Did he address the issue of Black inferiority complex by promoting pride, in African heritage, by ignoring the issue, by advocating for integration, or by seeking psychological counseling?
I would say A for sure. I would say A.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. Anyone else second that?
Yeah, second emotion.
Okay, awesome, awesome. All right, excellent. So let's see what's the answer to question number 16. Yes. So Garvey addressed the issue of Black inferiority complex by promoting pride in African heritage. Promoting pride in African heritage. Yes, absolutely. All right. And question 17 says, what was Garvey's slogan for economic empowerment? Was the slogan economic power through unity? Was it economic power for Black people? Was it economic reform now? Or was it economic equality for all? Anyone want to take a guess at that one?
I say I would say I would say A, economic power through unity. I
Okay,
would say
okay,
that. I mean, that's an educated guess on me, but I would say
okay, okay, that's fine. That's the beauty of multiple choice.
A.
We
Yes,
take a
indeed.
shot at it. Sometimes, sometimes we get it right. Sometimes, we may be off, but okay. So, anyone else want to agree that with that, or pick another one, or are we
I'm
good?
leaning towards D.
D, economic equality for all. Okay. All right. Okay, well, if no one else has another choice, let's take a look at the answer to 17.
Hmm.
And the answer is economic power for Black people.
Hmm.
And I guess that would fall in line because of the fact that when he traveled, he kept coming back to just seeing, you know, I hate to use the word totem pole or bottom of the ladder. You know, it wasn't good for us at all economically. So he was calling for economic power for Black people. So the answer would be B, economic power for Black people. Okay. Anyone has any comments or question on that one?
Now that sounds concrete.
All right. Awesome. Okay, so let's take a look at number 18, which says, what role did Marcus Garvey believe leadership should play in his movement? Should leadership be passive? Should leadership be visionary and dedicated to the cause? Should leadership be self-serving? Should leadership be temporary? What role did Garvey believe that leadership should play in his movement? Anyone want to take a stab at that one?
B, I think B.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree.
Anyone want to second that?
I would agree.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Brother John. And Brother Francis. Okay, so all right, so let's see the answer to that one. Okay. So Garvey felt that the role that leadership should play in his movement is leadership should be visionary and dedicated to the cause. Visionary and dedicated to the cause. Any comments on that? Okay. All right. So let's take a look at number 19. And 19 says, what was the purpose of Garvey's Negro Factories Corporation? Was the purpose of the Factories Corporation to fund civil rights litigation, to establish Black-owned businesses, to build schools and hospitals, or to support Black artists? Anyone want to take a guess at that one?
Establish Black-owned businesses.
Okay, all right. Anyone else agree with that or would like to
Yeah, I
select a
agree with
different
that.
one? Agree? Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
for the art. All right. Okay, so let's see the answer to number 19. And the answer is to establish Black-owned businesses. Thank you for that, Brother Art, Brother John. That is the correct answer. To establish Black-owned businesses. That was the purpose of the Garvey's Negro Factories Corporation. Okay. And if no one else has anything to add, we'll go to question number 20, which says, how did Garvey view the role of youth in his movement? Did Garvey view the role of youth as future leaders and critical to the movement's success? Did he view the role of youth as passive supporters? Did he view the role of youth as financial contributors or as political activists only? Anyone want to take a guess at that one?
Yeah, I would say A. Is the future of the, critical for the future of the movement, and he always talked about us reaching the uncorrupted youth, and when we do, that's the, we've laid a foundation, as he would say at that time, for the youth to come, and it's up to them to build or erect the edifice upon the foundation industrially that we laid. Unfortunately, we lost some of that momentum and et cetera. So when our youth graduate from some of these colleges today, they don't have that foundation for them. So they got to go to IBM or they got to go to some other white company in order to, make a career. But hopefully soon we'll be back to that stage where we can offer them industries and businesses to come be a part of, and as well as political opportunities. When we exercise our political sovereignty, as per our declaration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else wanted to add anything to that one? Or in agreement with that answer?
Yeah, I agree. Future leaders.
Okay. Okay, all right. So let's take a look at the answer to question number 20. Okay, and so we see that Garvey viewed the role of youth in the movement as future leaders and critical to the movement's success. Critical. Okay. Number 21 says, what did Garvey identify as a major obstacle to Black progress? Did Garvey identify religious differences? Did he identify racism and systemic oppression as a major obstacle to Black progress? Did he identify geographic isolation, or did he identify economic policies as a major obstacle to Black progress? Anyone want to take a shot at the answer to that one? What did Garvey identify as a major obstacle to Black progress?
I honestly would say none of the above.
None of the above?
None of the
Okay.
above.
All right. Anyone else? I'm sorry?
You normally said disorganization is our greatest enemy. So it
Okay.
was not that any enemy or person outside of our race was strong enough to be that big a problem to us, that we were able to do what they did. So only thing that's stopping us from accomplishing everything we will was our inability to organize ourselves. So
Yes.
in that sense, I would say none of those were our biggest enemy or our biggest problem.
Yes. Definitely. Definitely. He spoke about disorganization and organization. 100%. Anyone else want to take a shot at a different answer or agree in agreement with that?
Yeah, I mean, from a sense of those obstacles didn't stop Garvey's success, I would agree. But I would also, based on what Mr. Garvey said he observed in his travels and throughout Central America, he said that the conditions of our people was the same. We were always at the bottom, which would imply some form of systemic oppression. So I would argue B.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. So let's see the answer to number 21. Okay. And so we see that racism and systemic oppression is one of the things that Garvey identified as a major obstacle to Black progress. Because, we remember during those times, a lot of crazy stuff was going on with the riots in some parts, and the lynching was still going on, and just, you know, just oppression, at best is one word to systemic oppression would be the word for it. So he identified that as a major obstacle. And so we remember when he went back to New York, when he finally got to New York, um, he was a man with a mission. He was trying to put things in place, and he started by speaking and writing, and next thing you know, we got factories and all kind of things going on. So yes, absolutely, systemic oppression was the thing that had to be conquered. Okay, so let's see. Question, if no one else has anything to add, we can take a look at question number 22. And that one asks, what did Garvey believe was the role of education in Black liberation? Did he believe that it was to empower and enlighten the community? Did he believe that education was to focus on European history? Did he believe that it was there to teach agricultural skills, or it was there to emphasize religious studies? What did Garvey believe was the role of education in Black liberation? Anyone want to take a shot at that answer?
Yeah, I think his answer is A, to empower and enlighten community.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, awesome. Anyone else?
But I agree as A, but
Okay.
this is the second time agricultural skills got a bad hit.
Okay. All right. Okay, so
but that's not the right answer.
okay, so let's see. 22. What's the answer to that one? Okay, so that was correct. A was a correct answer. The Garvey believed the role of education in Black liberation was to empower and enlighten the community, emancipate ourselves, basically, mentally. Okay. All right. So if no one else has anything to add, we could take a look at question number 23. And question number 23 says, how did Garvey propose to achieve self-reliance for Black people? Did he propose to achieve self-reliance through economic independence and political organization? Did he propose to achieve it through integration, through religious conversion, or through military action? Anyone want to take a shot at that one?
Economic independence.
Okay. Anyone else? Or is everybody in agreement with that one? I think so. All right, so let's see the answer. Okay, so Garvey proposed to achieve self-reliance for Black people through economic independence and political organization. Here we go with the organization again. Organize. Okay. If no one else has anything to add to that, we can take a look at 24, which says, what was the significance of the Black Star Line in Garvey's plan? Was the significance of it, was it a symbol of Black enterprise and a practical tool a practical tool for economic empowerment? Was it a political organization? Was it a religious institution? Was it a charity organization? What was the significance of the Black Star Line in Garvey's plan?
I like A. Black and
Okay,
practical tool.
okay. All right, anyone else in agreement with A or?
Yeah, I second the motion.
Okay, awesome. So we can take a look at that answer. So the significance of the Black Star Line in Garvey's plan was it was a symbol of black enterprise and a practical tool for economic empowerment. Okay. All right, so moving right along, let's take a look at number 25, which says, what was Garvey's message regarding African diaspora unity? What was Garvey's message regarding African diaspora unity? Was it A, unity was essential for collective progress and strength? Was it B, unity was not necessary? Or C, unity was a secondary concern? Or D, unity was only needed locally? Garvey's message regarding
Global unity is a necessity.
okay. Okay.
That's answer A. You
So it
someone?
was a necessity. Okay, so you say A?
Yeah,
It
I
was
would say A.
okay, A.
I would say
All right. Anyone else?
I do have a
Okay,
question though. Was
so
the
the
word
question was what? It was
No,
what
no, no.
was
I know that.
Garvey?
I saw the question. I had a question for you.
Okay.
The term African diaspora, was that in Tony Martin's book, or was that a term that someone else used and putting the question together?
Um,
I just wondered if you know.
you know what? I'm trying to remember.
I know you
I
and
don't,
I used to just
let me see if I can.
we used to use
This was coming from
Africans
page
at home and
50.
abroad.
From page 50, I think, is where that was taken from, but I'm not sure if that was the actual term. Was
Yeah,
diaspora.
yeah. I just wonder because I mean, there's a history with that word when it comes to our struggle. You know, we sometimes black folks want to adopt other people's traditions and terms when it comes
Right,
to
exactly,
our struggle. So,
exactly.
like Marimba Ani talks about my alpha versus people trying to say a black Holocaust, or
Mm-hmm.
just used to use the word diaspora. But typically, when we talked about us, we just said at home and abroad.
Right.
We didn't really use that term. But I know Dr. Tony Martin, although he leaned toward being pro Garvey. He wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really Garveyite, but he was a sympathetic Garvey scholar. So
Okay.
some of the terms that we wouldn't use, he would use. So I was just curious if he might have used that term, or that was just something, for lack of better words, or whatever someone else used in putting the question together.
Okay. Um, I'm looking at page 50 to see if the word diaspora
A.
was specifically used, but that may have just been, we come to, as you say, we come to adopt the term of others, and
Yeah.
we just put it in there without thinking sometimes. But I'm not really seeing it on page 50, so maybe that was just,
Okay.
you know,
No biggie.
Thinking in terms of Africans, not only on the continent. Um, uh, Africa, I like how we say Africa for Africans at home and abroad, you know,
Right.
maybe Africans abroad would be a more
Right.
term that most people recognize, you know, so the questions could have read, what was Garvey's message regarding Africa, unity of Africa globally? I think would be probably even more, I guess, on point, you know,
Mm-hmm.
signify global unity. But yes, that's but yeah, so the message for Garvey was, let's see the answer to that one. Okay, we already got that one, that it was essential for collective progress and strength.
Yes.
And so number 6 says, how did Garvey's philosophy address the issue of colonialism in Africa? How did Garvey's philosophy address the issue of colonialism in Africa? Was it by advocating for African independence and self-governance? Was it by supporting colonial rule? Was it by remaining neutral, or by seeking integration with colonial powers? Anyone want to take a guess at that one? How Garvey's philosophy addressed the issue of colonialism in Africa?
Promoting independence, self-governance.
Okay. That would be A. Anyone else second that?
I second.
Okay. All right. And so let's see the answer to that one. That one was okay. So Garvey's philosophy, when it comes to colonialism, was he was advocating for African independence and self-governance. Yes, absolutely. And question 27 says, what was the ultimate goal of Garvey's movement? 27, what was the ultimate goal of Garvey's movement? Was it to the integration of Black people into white society? Was it the liberation and empowerment of all people of African descent? Was it the establishment of a single African nation? Or the creation of a global religious movement? Anyone want to take a guess at that one?
That's how I say B, the liberation and empowerment of all people of African descent.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
he kind of fits as well, but if we say ultimate, I would say B.
All
Yeah,
right.
B is good.
Anyone else want a second B?
Yes, I say
Okay.
B.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So let's see the answer to 27.
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it true that Mr. Garvey, because I'm looking at C and I'm looking at the wording, and I can see how it can't be, how it's not C, but I could also, well, doesn't Mr. Garvey at some point, to my knowledge, he advocated for to have a sovereign nation on the continent of Africa?
I
Yeah.
think he had advocated for see, colonialism was at its peak then, and they had already got into Europe and divide up the African continent, and all of this stuff was going on, and they were really at the height of their exploitation. So, although he was trying to, I guess, advocate for the undoing of all that, I think they were looking at Liberia
Mm-hmm.
trying to set up uh, some kind of government, at least in Liberia.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. That was definitely it. Was definitely.
Yeah.
I,
Okay.
I recall that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I leave that one
Anyone
alone.
else want
But there's some technical challenges to that, but fundamentally, yeah, I know what everyone's trying to say. Yeah, because I wouldn't say he wanted to set up United States of Africa, and
Mm-hmm.
he definitely wanted to, establish a settlement in Liberia, as well as Sierra Leone eventually. But and that settlement eventually he wanted to use as a springboard to to help liberate the rest of Africa,
Correct.
and then there form a provisional government. But some people would argue that it would be seditious to go into a sovereign nation and then talk about setting up a government inside a government, which wasn't what he was openly advocating. But he did want to establish the United States of Africa in some of the colonized zones, not necessarily Liberia. But Liberia was going to be the springboard. But anyway, like that's the technical thing.
absolute, absolute.
And
And
you got
there's a lot of propaganda when it seemed like he was getting some foothold to bring that to reality. But that I remember that being one of the things.
yeah.
Paraphrase.
Um, and
Did
I
you want to
think
add something? Yeah,
yeah, I
go ahead.
think Libya had those waterways as well. So of movement.
Libya?
Yeah.
Liberia.
Okay,
Liberia, like I don't know why I say keep saying Liberia. I mean, I apologize.
okay,
Liberia, Liberia.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think Liberia had those waterways, so that have been instrumental
Hmm.
in transferring goods, services, and everything else. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if no one else has anything to add, we can look at the answer to 27. And 27 says that the ultimate goal of Garvey's movement was the liberation and empowerment of all people of African descent. The liberation and empowerment of all people of African descent. Okay. Question 28 says, what did Garvey see as the main function of the UNIA? What did Garvey see as the main function of the UNIA? Was it to organize and mobilize the global Black community? Was it to promote religious unity? Was it to support political campaigns or to fundraise for charities? What did Garvey see the main function of the UNIA?
I would believe A.
A, okay,
I would agree with A.
okay. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at the answer to 28. Okay, so Garvey see the main function of the UNIA to organize and mobilize the global Black community. All right. And 29 says, how did Garvey view the importance? I'm sorry, did anyone else have anything to add to 28? The main
No,
function
I
of the
don't.
UNIA? Okay. All right. And 29 says, how did Garvey view the importance of African history and culture? Did he view it as vital for building a racial pride and identity? Did he see it as irrelevant to modern times? Did he see it as secondary to European history, or he saw it as purely academic?
I would say vital.
Okay,
Vital.
all right. Anyone else?
With out of knowledge of their past history, knowledge, and cultures like a tree without roots. I'd second that motion.
Okay, okay, awesome. All right, so let's see what the answer to that one shows. Okay, gentlemen, you are correct. It is as vital for building racial pride and identity. That is how Mr. Garvey viewed the importance of African history and culture. Okay. And
Oh,
question
10 o'clock.
30 says, what was a major criticism Garvey had of contemporary Black leadership? What was a major criticism? Was it that they suffer from a lack of vision and commitment to racial uplift? Was it that they had overemphasis on military strategies? Was it that they focused on economic isolation? Was it that they excessively compromise when it comes to excessively when it comes to politics? So basically, what was the major criticism that Garvey had on contemporary Black leadership?
I
Anyone
think,
want to take a guess?
Yeah, I say lack of vision and commitment to racial uplift.
Yeah, I would argue A as well.
Okay. All
Although
right.
accurate too.
Which one is accurate?
And D is accurate as well, though. But A would be
D?
the,
Excessive political compromise?
yeah, he did criticize them, particularly the civil rights movement.
Mhm.
Kind of like Malcolm did for their tokenism and all that. But yeah, but more, he would say they lack the vision.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Anyone else want to add to that? Okay. All right. So I guess if not, we could take a look at the answer to question 30. And question 30 said that he saw a lack of vision and commitment to racial uplift. A lack of vision and commitment to racial uplift. They were kind of, I guess, leaning away from or leaning towards the integration thing. So I guess that would have created some division to some extent. Right? Okay, so let's take a look at question number 31, which says, what did Garvey consider the role of art and literature in this movement? What was the role of art and literature? Was it to inspire and educate the community? Was it to entertain the masses? Was it to focus on European styles? Or was it to remain apolitical? Anyone want to take a guess at that one?
I say it's inspire and educate.
Okay. Anyone else want to second that or add something different?
Yeah, I co-sign that one.
I'm sorry?
I'll co-sign that one.
Yes, okay, all right. Okay, so we can take a look at the answer to that one. So the role of art and literature is to inspire and educate the community. Okay, and question 32,
Sister Diane,
yes.
just notifying the time. We had 10 o'clock.
Yes, we have just these two, and then we have like a total of about four questions. So I was thinking we might as well just wrap it up. We have just like 4 questions. And so this one 32 says, how did Garvey's ideas influence later Black nationalistic or nationalist movements? How did Garvey's idea influence later Black nationalist movement? So did they provide a foundation for future leaders and movements? Did they were they largely ignored? Did they focus solely on economic policies, or did they discourage unity?
I would say A, but B is also accurate.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Yeah, they missed a lot of stuff.
Okay.
But A,
Okay.
go A.
All right. Anyone second A?
Yeah, it was John and more my second.
Okay. All right. So let's see it. It says that Garvey's ideas influence later Black nationalist movement by providing a foundation for future leaders and movements. So many movements that came about was of an influence.
Yes, no doubt.
As a result of Garvey's influence. Okay. And we just have 1, 2, 3 questions. Number 33 says, what did Garvey believe about the potential of the Black race? Did he believe that it was equal to any other race and capable of great achievement? Did he believe that it was inferior and needed assistance? That number C, that it should integrate with other race, and D, that it should focus on small scale achievements. Anyone want to take a shot at 33, which asks what Garvey believed about the potential of the Black race?
Hey,
Yeah,
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay,
second it.
let's see. Okay, awesome. Let's see what the answer reveals.
oh,
Okay. Yes. Garvey always advocate that what one man can do, we can do. So,
no doubt.
yes. So we believe that that the Black race was equal to any other race and capable of great achievements. Okay. And number 34 question asks, what was Garvey's advice to Black people regarding their economic strategy? So was it advice to invest in and support Black-owned businesses? Was it to rely on government support? Was it to focus on foreign investments? Or was it to integrate with white-owned businesses? Anyone want to take a shot at that one?
Oh,
Invest in Black owned, invest and support Black owned.
yes.
Okay, and let's see that answer. Absolutely. Garvey's advice to Black people regarding their economic strategy was that we were to invest in and support Black-owned businesses. And the last question of the evening, congratulations, if you guys are still with us. The last question asks, what was the significance of Garvey's phrase, "Up, you mighty race"? Was it a call to action for self-improvement and racial pride? Was it a religious chant? Was it a military slogan? Or was it a political compromise? Anyone like to take a shot at that one?
Hey.
Okay,
So, hey.
and we got a few seconds for A.
Yeah.
I second it.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, let's see what A says. And the answer is A. It was a call to action for self-improvement and racial pride. Up, you mighty race. It was a call to action for self-improvement and racial pride. And that being the case, we are at the end of chapter 2's questions. And any questions, comments, concerns as we get ready to close out?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
Just a question earlier about women role in the UNIA. So I just wanted to briefly mention about the women's role that people over the years have thought that women somehow played some inferior role or some kind of took a back seat to the men. But I would kind of argue there was a most complete co-equal system probably ever. Not only were women in the highest positions of office like Henrietta Vent Davis and Madam Domina and many others. Was a young lady, in fact, who was a student government president of Liberty University, who I had the pleasure of knowing at 103 years old, which was MLT Domina's daughter, Bernice. But there was also many women like Lillian Galloway, who ran the Universal Publishing. You had, Henrietta also was the director of the Black Cross Trade Navigation, founded the Black Star Line. Of course, Amy had her columns in the Negro World. Anyway, there was a lot of roles for anybody who was qualified, and even on the local level, even though the president is the brigadier general or head of the males auxiliary and president, the head of the division, the lady president is second in command, but she's head of the women's auxiliary, and security kind of take precedence. So he has somewhat of a position over her, but at the same time, per constitution, women in the UNIA can be the division can decide to assign the Went Lady President whatever role they think she's best qualified for, even if that's takes a responsibility or two away from the male president. So that even in that regard, some lady presidents had, a dominant role in that, local divisions in different places. So that, there's a lot of, back at that time, it was probably, according to one of my UNIA mother, Mrs. James, the Honorable Charles L. James' wife, she used to tell me that back in the day, she was president of her juvenile branch in New Orleans, and she was talking about, in general, there was like 100 men for every 20 women in the UNIA, and that's largely because a lot of the women were at home while the men were going out to organize, so they would take care of the family. And some of the women,
Mhm.
were still participate on, different capacities, a lot more, older women, etc. But because of that, reserving the second position for of the organization for a woman in that capacity, lady president, was a way of protecting women's involvement in the organization, so that if all the men were to vote for just men, the women would have no role. But the second highest office was automatically reserved for her was a good thing. I remember years ago, a sister who wanted to run for male president, and we told her that that wasn't constitutional, and she got upset with us and called us sexist. But she was a member of the Akan faith in Ghana. So I remember her saying, "Well, we're sexist. What about the Akan religion of Ghana? Is that sexist?" She said, "No, we're not sexist." I said, "Okay, well, about the Ashanti Henny? Is the Ashanti Henny a woman, or can it only be a man?" Well, and what about the Queen Mother? Is that only a woman, or can that be a man? And well,
Right.
okay, if you can do it, we can do it. So it's not so biased as some would think, but
Mhm.
I always thought it, quite equitable. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out that sisters are
Yes.
loved, respected, and needed in the UNIA and preferred in a lot of positions where some of the wimpy men can't handle the job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, no doubt, women has always played a key role. But it's amazing how we get kind of caught up in this Western patriarchal society. But I think Garvey, women has always played key role in Garvey's organization, UNIA. So definitely, thank you for pointing out some of these instances. The Negro world, of course. Um, yes, thank you for that. Anyone else has anything else to add? Everyone wants to move for us to go ahead and close out?
Yes, I would move to close.
Okay. And Brother John, would you like to do us the honors?
Sure.
As well, I'll ask Brother John to do the honors and see if Brother Maria Ma had any closing songs or anything.
I don't eternal light I can close with. Shall I sing that and then he closed with a motto?
Sounds good.
Okay. I'm just gonna sing it's normally a pause in between stanzas, but I'm just gonna go through it.
Okay.
Shine on eternal light to greet our souls this day. Dispel the gloominess of night and drive our doubts away. Come love and give new birth to man's destructive mind. Reign where spread where confusion reigns on earth, goodwill to all mankind. Our longing eyes prepare when war and strife will cease. To view the morn soon to appear, the new era of peace. Shine on eternal light, thy penetrating ray shall turn the hour of darkest night into eternal day. And that was Henrietta Davis' favorite song. That's why I chose it.
Okay. Wow.
What
Thank
song
you
was
for
that?
that.
Was it?
Shine on eternal light.
Yeah, that's interesting. I read that often. I've never read it to a melody.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, I'll share that with you.
Thank you, brother.
Yes. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
Brother John, if no one has anything else to add, please do the honors.
if you would please come off mute, put your black fists in the air. Repeat after me. One God,
One God,
one aim,
one aim,
one destiny.
one destiny.
Africa
Africa
for the Africans.
for the Africans.
Africans,
Those at home
Those
those at home,
and those abroad.
And
and
those
and
those
those
abroad.
abroad.
Race first, family.
Race first.
Race first.
Thank you, everyone. Peace and blessings.
Thank you. Great job, Sister Diane.
Thank you, Brother John.